Hello and welcome to another episode of the podcast for the recently deceased. Episode 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, episode 9. Tonight is a very special episode. It's our Valentine's special. We're going to be
Mhm.
talking about two gems from Jeremy Gardner, written, directed, and starring um, After Midnight and The Battery.
The triple threat in horror indie films.
Yeah, I mean, so I didn't know what to expect when we pulled an audible on what we said we were going to do for this week and switched over to these two movies. And
Yeah.
first thing I noticed is, okay, this is an indie movie, okay, which I'm never like against it, but your mindset switches right away as soon as you see the camera quality, the video quality and the sound quality, and
hmm
um, and I just loved both movies. So like A24 style, right? Like although
Yeah.
these weren't necessarily art house, but they definitely had that indie feel.
Yeah, it was shot in that kind of way because it's such a limited cast of characters. There's more time to focus on dialogue and the setting, the environment that they're in is often like another character in the films. And as far as quality, it is very akin to something like an A24 where there's other it's not just straight here's a story with that does you can't really dig into. These ones you can really chew on a lot of what is going on in the whether it's the relationships of the characters or just the plot and what's occurring and pick it apart and rethink it and it sits with you.
Absolutely. We talk a lot about movies not taking enough time developing characters, so you have no attachment to them when they die,
Yeah.
and that's a thing about stakes, right? If the stakes are high, you're invested, and there's going to be that emotional response, which should be what films in general are trying to do, especially in the horror genre, elicit some sort of emotional response, generally fear,
hmm
but also anger and anxiety. Um, this both of these movies do this so well. Um, like,
Yeah.
I was hanging on every word, um, getting to know these characters, the two main characters from both films,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. I'm interested in Jeremy's origin story and where he like kind of how he evolved into being the filmmaker and actor that he is. Um, because it seems like it's with the group that he's got that it might have been people that he was in school with or whether it's college or a grad program something like that related to film and directing and how it just kind of blew in or grew into what it did or what it is now. I'd love to find that out. I haven't done any research yet, but time will tell. So let's, I guess, just begin focusing on one of the movie, then we'll go to the other. And obviously, this conversation is going to go into all the plot details so that we can really dig into what's occurring with the characters, like most of our films reviews do or conversations. It's just going to be formatted that way so that we can really have as much fun as possible with our conversation and the viewers too. So if you haven't seen them, you should be seeing these before you're watching our little stream here. So, and we're going to start with the battery. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. Cool. So, let's recall the opening of the battery. Uh, how does it open up? I can't recall. Is this one that'll just open up with the two of them? Oh yes, the porch.
yes,
So
the porch.
the porch. So a lot of the things that this and Midnight, but this one as well. There's so many scenes that are just set where there's just more or less a tripod, and the frame is set, and the characters are just doing something within the frame, and it's never gonna move. They're just gonna do their thing. The action's taking place, and then they might exit off frame. So this film opens with just one of the characters, played by Adam Cronheim. He plays character's name is Mickey. The other character played by Jeremy is Ben. So Mickey's just out on the porch and he's got his headphones on, which is another element in this film. Music, and in both of these films, music
Yeah,
is a huge component.
yeah, and the soundtracks to both films are excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Not only are the songs perfectly picked for the scene, and the way Jeremy uses the music is that the music kind of only ever happens when it occurs naturally in like the scene as well. So
Yeah.
you've got headphones on. When the headphones are on, the music is loud. When he takes the headphones off, it's now muffled and it's kind of like background
Mm-hmm.
noise. Same thing in After Midnight. A song comes on, and then the camera's going to pan through the room, and you're going to see that the record is spinning. So like they're actually listening to the song in the movie at this time. Uh,
Yeah, it's really woven in.
yeah, really excellently done. Um, okay, continue.
Well, yeah. So it's you know right away with like how it's gonna be incorporating it, and it gets you keyed up to sort of watch this almost as like a music video in parts, which it does turn into in different aspects. But it's gonna have an important part, and so like listening to either just the style or the lyrics in there is a lot of correlation with what's occurring on screen to dig into with that. So it just starts with Mickey is on the porch steps of a house. The door is open, and he's just kind of looking around. I think he's changing his CD because the music stops, and he changes the batteries out. Uh, so you see a baggie of batteries. So you're starting to put together that this what kind of environment's going on because it's a little bit odd. And then he stirs and he goes into the door to approach the front door. You hear Ben shouting out, "Run, run!" And he just gets out and he turns back and he shoots a gun as they're exiting out, and they run away. And so then proceed on to the starting credits. I think after that,
Yep.
so you know right away there's something disturbing or unsettling or a different kind of backpacking adventures occurring. It's not just a normal setting that they're in. You know.
Right, right. And yeah, and I love the concept of always being on the move, and they are backpacking through the apocalypse through this film, which is also very good. And how Mickey is always trying to stay and achieve some kind of normalcy, and for whatever reason, Ben understands that that is not how they're going to survive. And he seems a little bit more put together, a little bit more agreeable to the lifestyle.
Yeah, accepting of the circumstances, and that's the thing that's interesting for myself. I'd like to think that I'm both of these guys. Do you identify with one more than the other if you
Yeah,
were in this environment?
I feel like Ben, maybe just because of the beard, or maybe because there were times where I was like, Mickey, just shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Like you're both killed. Like,
Hmm.
so maybe I'm just more of a realist, and maybe Mickey's more of an idealist, which is why I took to
Yeah.
Ben a little bit more.
Well, and so yeah, and I agree with that, and I think that there's so many layers with the way that he made this film because the fact that they're both ball players on the same
Right.
team, that Mickey is a pitcher and Ben's a catcher. Ben's a regular, but Mickey, being a pitcher, he's not in every game. He's gonna pitch from time to time in rotation and everything like that.
Sure.
Maybe he's just a closer, he might not even play that much. He might
Right.
play 1.5 innings at most. Uh, there's a different dynamic because of their roles in the baseball team, and it kind of translates to how they are outside of the game. But it's the one bond, and the only reason that they're really together is just because they're on that team together. They happen to be in the same spot, and now they're just living this post-apocalyptic world, which is filled with zombies. We come to find out, and they
Right.
start up pretty quickly because they're just like you said, they're backpacking, surviving. Um, a lot of their interactions, though, because of what you mentioned, as far as Ben being the realist and Mickey being having a hard time letting go and is attached to all the prior relationships, and you see that throughout the movie. It progresses where he's holding on to and searching for remnants of the past and wanting stability and home and a place and wants others with him. He doesn't want to be alone. He hates it, and they have arguments the whole time
Yeah.
of how they're going to navigate this.
Right. Their first real destination in the film is Mickey's ex-girlfriend, like a girl he
Yes.
used to date from who knows how long ago.
Hmm.
And they go to her house, and obviously she's not there. They don't find a body or anything, but
Right.
they have to just assume the worst and move on, which, Mickey, of course, doesn't want to do.
Hmm.
Um, but he takes a souvenir.
Yeah, which it's like I can identify it. Like I would
Yeah,
imagine, like
yeah,
yeah,
like 3 months.
the longing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's three
Uh,
months into the apocalypse, right? So 3 months you've been traveling with one other dude, and who knows how long it's been since you've seen another person that
hmm.
wasn't that well, that wasn't a zombie, right?
Yeah, and I think that that's what's good about the way in both these films, and in this one, there's that scene where there's like this like realism about the situation or the human quality of the characters. And so for me, the scene with Mickey when Ben's out, I think he's having a wash in the creek nearby where they're at, where the car is parked. When Mickey's alone and he's awoken by the younger teenage or early 20s chick zombie, and she's pushing herself against the window.
Oh yeah, yeah. And he just like
He just
whips it
needs
out.
release.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like
Uh,
you you kind of get it, but like you're also offended and like kind of like, oh my god, really?
yeah.
Like it's
It definitely
no
makes you
one's
feel
ever
some.
done that.
Yeah, it makes you feel some things, right?
Yeah.
Like they got a good-looking actress, right?
Hmm.
A well-endowed, good-looking
Right.
actress for this scene to just like press herself up against this window.
Hmm.
And the zombies in this world are like the slowest of the slow. They're straight up like
Yes,
Romero
it's
zombies. Like they
Romero
have
zombies. Yeah.
they have no
Dawn of the
cool.
Dead Romero zombies. Zombies
Yeah, yeah.
putting their arms in the blood pressure machine.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Uh so he's like, fuck it, I got time.
Yeah, thinking he's alone, and it ends
Yeah.
so perfectly
Oh
with
yeah.
Ben taking out the zombie and seeing what the fuck he was just doing
And he
and
just
just
starts
laughing his
laughing.
ass off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just finish up and he goes back into the
Yeah,
woods.
I'll be right back. He's like, oh my god, I'm dying. It's awesome. So it's like
Yeah.
so insane of an idea, but it's and then they handled it so realistically. I think that's what's so great. Everything about the way that he's written this movie is so natural. It
That
doesn't feel like acting or a weird character that you can't relate to. Everything is relatable
that's another
and
point.
understandable.
Yeah, that's exactly a point that I wanted to make about this movie and After Midnight is that they both feel so natural. They're literally like you're watching what normal people would do in all of these situations in both films.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like it all makes so much sense. Um,
So so let's try to like kind of redirect and so Mickey and Ben they're on the road. They go up to it like you said as Mickey's ex girlfriend. They get some camping materials. They've already found a car. And they've got this car in the station wagon now. They
yeah,
get
they
some
get
supplies from there.
they get the
And Ben's just,
walkies.
yes, they get the walkies from there. And that becomes extremely relevant as they get to the next beat. Eventually, they make their way to a cabin in the woods. Another point here Mickey has never killed one of these zombies in this film. Ben has done it all. Ben has kept track in a notebook. He's got a little scorecard marking the hashes, and he's
Yep.
done like 50 of them.
Yeah.
And Mickey has done zero. So there's some animosity brewing where he's like, he knows his best friend has to fucking deal with this at some point, and he's just not right now. And he's has this weight where he's got to be the more serious one. They have an argument and a fight later on about the headphones all the time. Like, dude, you're always in those things. It's going to get you or us killed. It becomes a problem. All this comes to a head as they get to a cabin in the woods. And Mickey's very frustrated. He wants to spend the night. And so that's when things start to really progress more because a few things happen. When you get into like what occurs in that cabin, they get there and take us through the next beats in this cabin. There's a few things that happen.
Okay, right. So first thing is we see some backbone from Mickey for the first time where he stands up to Ben and he
Hmm.
says, "I'm not going. We are staying here. I'm sleeping in a bed." And he like screams it at him.
Yeah.
So Ben is taken aback and like, "Oh, okay. So there is a man in there because
Right.
he does kind of feel like Mickey's a giant pussy because he won't kill a zombie and that's going to be bad for their survival, right?
Yeah. So he's like, okay. will
Yeah,
stay because
it's
he sees it, he acknowledges it. This is a good thing. He's coming out and he's being firm.
right.
He knows that he needs to nurture that part of him, so he goes along. Yeah,
Yep. So this kind of music video moment, we get the Ben drinking alone.
love this
Uh,
moment.
yeah, the song was great. I can't remember the name of it, but I have actually have heard the song before.
Yeah,
Um, and he's just drinking a bottle and dancing to himself, and
because
um,
he has the headphones now.
because he has the
Because
headphones.
he said if we're fucking staying here,
I get
these are
the
mine.
headphones. Yeah, right.
You're
I
not
get
gonna
the
get us killed. I'm taking
right,
it easy. You can be on watch.
right. Um, to which I guess in Ben's drunken great idea, he decides to go catch a zombie and tie it to a tree.
Hmm. And
And
it's one of those great cuts that happens a couple times in this film because he's having the music video. You're like elated because you're like having fun, rocking out with them. You take a little reprieve, and then it cuts short. He takes them off because he hears a noise and he's freaked out for a second.
right,
And he goes out and he decides this is an opportunity. He finds a zombie
yeah.
and he wants to capture it.
So he captures it and he waits till morning and he unties it and he puts it in a arm bar behind its back and pushes it into the cabin. Mickey's asleep. He's
He set the bat next to him before he went out there to get the
right, right.
zombie.
He put the bat
So
right next to him in the bed. Mickey wakes up as he's dragging it into the thing, and Mickey goes, "Ben, what are you doing?" He throws it in there,
yeah,
and he goes,
Ben,
"Oh my God, it's a
go, Ben.
zombie!" And he just
And he's
shuts
just
the door.
yeah, you can do it, Mickey. You can do it. Come on, Mickey. You got to do it. You can do it. And he's just encouraging him like a father figure.
Yeah, and you hear the bat just bashing away,
Yeah.
like gratuitously bashing, like
Hmm.
Mickey is definitely not in control. He's definitely lost it a little bit at this in this moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, when the door opens, there's blood everywhere. Like
Hmm.
he just couldn't stop himself. You can tell right away, and he definitely breaks down.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like almost catatonic. Like he's just in a stupor. He walks out. It's raining. He's still naked. He's got his boxers on, and he's just doesn't. He's beside himself because he hasn't had to deal with. He's still holding on to reality. For whatever reason, he didn't want to cross this line, and his best friend or his only friend
Yeah,
just made him do it, and he did, and woke him up with it. It's just haunting, and yeah, he's processing it. He's having a hard time.
yeah. I think he
So
breaks down crying at the end of the scene too, right? Or
yeah,
does
yeah. When he walks out, I'm pretty sure he's crying.
yeah, like he's like
Yeah.
like like uncontrollably for a moment anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
But I
Ben
think
realizes, what he did, but he thinks it had to happen. He had to
right.
do this.
Right, yeah. I mean, it kind of wraps up with Ben like tossing it off with like a sideways joke, and it's like, "Come on, let's get you cleaned up,"
Mm-hmm.
and they kind of walk off.
So it's around this time, and I think it happened right before they went to bed or whatever. Maybe it doesn't happen until after, but after this whole case of events, the walkie-talkies become relevant because they are just pleading, seeing if anyone's there, or no, they're testing the walkie, and they
Right.
come across after they're testing them. Oh, these things have good range. They hear other characters.
Yes. So
There's other
there's
survivors.
an Annie and a Frank
Mm-hmm.
talking about picking stuff up from somewhere, going on a supply run.
The
Um,
orchard.
the orchard, right?
Mm-hmm. They're gonna watch a movie,
Yeah,
and Mickey is he. It plants a seed where he is now sees hope, and he cannot let it go.
he can't let it go. And I love that the movie was Tremors.
Yeah, yeah, fantastic. Yeah,
And
yeah.
even like
They're like fucking tremors.
yeah, yeah, and the guy's like, yeah, the worm movie with Kevin Bacon, and then they come back. I know what Trevor's is. Like they have this very casual, real.
Yeah.
This once again, the dialogue was so good, so
Yeah.
real in both movies.
Hmm.
The very funny moment.
Yeah, that's there's a lot of moments like that throughout it that keeps it light. there's a like whether it's comic relief or just human interactions that are just fun and enjoyable and relatable, and that was a good one for sure.
Yeah.
So, um,
So they tell
those
Mickey, right?
characters, yeah,
They tell Mickey to drop it, that they're not welcome,
yep,
and to get off the radio, to pick another channel.
yep,
To which Frank says, and this is probably why Mickey does what he does. Frank says, Annie, do not talk to these boys.
yeah,
So right there, Frank is saying that Annie is potentially a weak link.
mm,
So you'll see as we move forward, every chance Mickey gets, he hops on the mic and he's like,
yeah. He's pleading,
"Hey, Annie, help us, Annie, please,
yeah. And
just
they
talk
have
to
that
me, just talk to me."
conversation. Yeah, because they're sitting, they're eating outside the back of the wagon, and he's doing it. He's like, Annie, please, please, and you hear him like trembling in his voice as if that's going to convince her.
Yeah,
Um, and she's like, no, I can't talk to you. It's not going to happen. Just drop it. And I
but
think that's the end of the radio contact that they have.
yeah,
But at that scene, um, this is where Ben just lays it out like, and this was another great writing, like because I found myself doing the same thing. Like as soon as you hear Annie, you're picturing someone,
oh yeah,
and Ben starts to say to him, he's like, "See, what you picture is this young, attractive pixie with a scar that's just in the right spot that you're attractive, but it's like serious, like kind of a badass but hot." And but he's like, "But what I'm picturing is a fucking 40-year-old lesbian bull dyke soccer mom type
yeah,
thing that like,
yeah, right, trucker,
yeah,
because that's who survives,
right, and
this
that's the one
shit.
going on a
Yeah,
run,
yeah,
right." And like Mickey kind of realizes like yeah, like it is a fantasy that I'm thinking of, and it kind of wakes him up. But like it's a hilarious way to just like ground the interaction that you might be having yourself, to just remind yourself like, wait a second, this environment that we're in, it's not just inherently going to be a good person that is going to be someone you're going to want to be around. Like they plant
right,
that seed right away. It's not just you don't just trust because it sounds like a young female for whatever
right,
reason. So
right. Well, we also know that Mickey is like doesn't have control of his like sexual desires, right? Like
right.
between the panty raid of the ex-girlfriend and the whacking it to an actual zombie,
Yeah.
like he needs it. It's something Ben
Hmm.
Ben obviously has complete control over his libido, whereas
Yeah.
Mickey is like it's like it's a woman. I gotta see.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting point, like his uncontrollable need for, and he's expressing it through sexual type desires, but it's really, it's just one way to express the connection or longing for more intimate human contact. It's
Sure.
just how we can visualize it in a way. So, um, okay, so that's pretty much the stage set. Now, if they have to keep progressing, they get
Right.
on the road. Um, what other beats occur before they get to that car, or is
Before
that
they
pretty
get to the
much it?
car.
Just
I'm pretty sure that's it. Like I said, these conversations
happens
are
right
gonna
there.
be they're gonna be tough because these movies are full of dialogue and not a lot of action beats, which is totally fine and absolutely worked
Well, and the
for
great thing with this, what is sprinkled between, which we've already mentioned, is the music. There's a lot of interludes where there's just soundtrack is playing and you see them living life. Like they have
right.
these ups and downs where the relationship is strained, but then you get the healing process where you see them reconnecting through the sport of baseball, finding the apple orchard, which I didn't even think about. They are at that one apple
That
orchard,
yeah,
and that is the proximity to the characters that are probably going to come up. But they go through that. They're playing with the ball. They're eating. They heal during the whole film, all these different moments that seems to strain them, they still reconnect through the sport and through surviving with one another, and you get to have the music. So you're kind of like, you're lulled in through the movie. It's not as if it's slow
no,
or
no.
boring. It's
Is that
just not a lot of action beats are occurring. It's minimal.
yeah, yeah, and I mean it's not a long movie. It's an hour 40, but it was still it still didn't feel long. And After Midnight, I think, was in the 80s. It was like 87 minutes, and
Yeah,
also like honestly didn't feel that short. Like, but it
right.
didn't. But I was never bored.
Yeah. So, yeah, things don't really. It must have been after that orchard scene where they eventually are in the car and they come to a uh, car
Car,
that's
yep,
in the
stopped
road.
on the yep, stopped on the road. Yep,
They need to fuel up. They're going to start siphoning the gas out of that tank. Mickey feels the hood. It's warm. Their alarms are up. And
yep,
now there's the first conflict with another human survivor.
yeah.
So this guy's
So
got a knife at Mickey's throat.
yep, and he's like, give me the keys, and what's his
This is
name?
Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry and Ben's the little fast one he pulls here had me fooled too. Like I didn't
Yeah,
even know he was
yeah.
yeah, like Ben's character quick on his feet, you know?
Yeah, it's
Um
like he's built for this world. He
yeah.
knows
Yeah,
he's
yeah, he
guarded. He's protecting it. Yeah.
yeah, he totally had it.
So he
So
talks Jerry into the car, who's got a knife at Mickey's throat. He talks Jerry into the car, telling him the keys are in there. Go ahead, take the car.
yeah.
He puts the gun down, get the keys. Jerry lets Mickey go. He gets in the car, and he's, "You fucking asshole! They're
And
not like, and they're
he
not
pulls the
there."
keys out,
He's
yeah.
like, I'm not gonna give you the keys, Jerry. Like,
Yeah. And then
we need them.
Jerry runs off, and Ben just shoots him, kills him.
Yeah.
To which Mickey, has a little freak out because that was a real person.
Yeah.
Important before the next beat, um, Jerry reveals that he's on the run
Mm-hmm.
from, I think from the orchard. Does he say the orchard? Or
Can't recall if he actually identifies it.
Mickey's
He
trying
just
to
says
find
he's
out where he's
leaving.
running. Yeah, Mickey's trying to find out
The
where he's running
car,
from.
the car that he has was owed to him.
Right, was owed to him, and he's supposed to drive to Arizona, I think.
Yeah.
But they weren't. They didn't give it to him, so he just took it and ran.
Yeah, they kept promising it, and they weren't um, delivering, and so he just left with it,
Right,
absconded with it.
right. So a truck pulls up.
They're both on edge.
Yeah, yeah, because Mickey is just like you killed a guy. Like what the fuck?
Right.
Um, Out of the car comes a woman and a bigger dude with a rifle or a shotgun,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously Ben has his gun out, and the woman uh, talks
They want to be
Ben.
cool. They're like,
Yeah,
yeah,
they're
let's be
like,
cool.
let's be
We're
cool. We're
friends.
friends. We're
You
friends.
good?
We're friends. Like
Cool.
this is my car. We're just gonna
Yep.
take it.
Get in my
Did
car.
did you see
Did
who
you
was
see the
driving?
guy?
Yeah. Did he tell you anything? What did he tell you?
Yeah.
Did he say
So yeah, he
anything?
plays the ghost. He's like, no, he was bit
He
and
was bit. We
was
shot him out in
rambling a
that
bunch,
field.
and
Yeah.
he's yeah.
Um, yeah, Ben. Once
Oh,
again.
and they repeat why he got the car. He just like that the car was owed to him, and he yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like, yep, that's not exactly true.
So she gets into the car after putting gas in it, and we assume that the other guy is in the truck, and Mickey just can't help himself, and
No.
he goes Annie, and she
Oh,
shoots Ben in the leg immediately,
yeah.
and then they have another conversation, um, before just leaving them there to die, right?
Yeah. Yeah. She warned him. She reiterates that, like, what are you doing? You know you can't, like, and she gets the keys. She tosses.
She
She makes
tosses
sure they
him.
see. They're like,
Don't.
watch. Tosses them. Do not follow. You will. We will kill you. Like,
Yeah, you're not welcome. That's the orchard isn't
no.
what you think it is. Do not come here.
Yeah. She felt her hand was forced because she can't be compromised and she doesn't want anything to occur with them. She knows her role in the orchard. Nothing like that can happen. And so she does what she can by hobbling Ben and getting the fuck out of there with the car.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me of the last conversation he had with Annie, where he reveals that, like, she's like, "What about your friend?" He's like, "Oh, we don't really know each other." And blah, blah, blah. And she's like, "I didn't get on here to gab like fucking schoolgirls." Just like disconnect. Like, if
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
could have hung up on him, she did, right? um,
So this is our final act now.
yeah, yeah, we're definitely there. They retrofitted this Volvo so they could sleep in it.
Hmm.
So they're sleeping in it when they hear a noise. They turn on the lights, the
Yeah, they don't
headlights.
have the flashlights with them or
Yeah,
whatever. They can't find it because it's in the dark. They hear something, pop the headlights, and the whole road and field in front of them that you can see with the headlights is just filled with dozens of
of
zombies.
zombies, and that almost immediately cuts to daylight, and the car is just surrounded. Every inch of window is a zombie head and arms and hands just banging
Hmm.
on the windows. Ben, the look on Ben's face is like, fuck. And Mickey's
Hmm.
obviously losing his mind because he cannot handle stress, right?
Yeah,
And of course, Ben's got the wounded leg too, so we've got to worry about that. The
yeah,
conversation of how much water do we need to drink every day?
yeah,
And then Mickey's like, I don't know. So Ben shows him a bottle and a half and goes, well, how long will this last?
right. Yeah, so
um,
they're starting to ration the chicken water that's in there,
yeah,
canned chicken,
and
and
the
the
peas
green
water,
peas
and they're
before
keeping that in
and the,
a
before
separate
they have to start
bottle.
drinking their pee.
Yeah,
Yeah,
before they start drinking their piss.
and just the
Um,
reality of the situation starts sitting in, and they start coming to terms with like, we're not gonna get out of here. We're hoping that they're gonna walk away or get bored, because they talk about the first place that they were held up in at the
right,
beginning, before we see them, that they were trapped somewhere with surrounded by the undead, and how they got out of there. Like this was a similar situation. They kind of float that. Can we? You think we can do what we did back there? And like right away, like they shoot it down. Like nah, that can't happen. That was different. That was like a second story or something. We had more room
right,
to work with. It can't happen here. Right? This is just a car.
yeah. So eventually, a few days in, they get the bright
Yeah, it's hard to
idea.
tell exactly how long, but it seems like it's a day or two, a couple
Yeah,
days.
they get the bright idea to have Mickey go out, grab the keys, and get back in to the car.
Hmm.
And he can. They think he can do it. They think it's a good idea before they get weaker or have less water.
Yeah. And so their final moment, they decide, well, let's just get drunk. So they get drunk. They kind of are reveling in just like having each other in this awful environment, and they're just having fun, getting
Yep.
shit faced with one
Uh,
another because that's what they've done a million times before already, and that's like all that they have. So they do that, and then they come up with this plan the next morning, and so yeah, Mickey heads out through the winding sunroof.
yep.
I definitely was in a car that had one of those.
Oh
It's
yeah.
funny, and he disappears, and this is where it's like they just sit with a long shot on Ben when time is just passing. It's not like they just jump to see what Mickey is doing. You're just in there with him and it's all unknown. And I love
Right.
that because he utilizes this kind of a setting a lot where there's events that are occurring somewhere else, and you're just left with your thoughts about how that's all transpiring. You don't get to see it. You
Oh
just
yeah.
get to have the anxiety and the emotion while it's occurring, just like the character would.
Yeah.
It's
All you
excellent.
yeah all you get is like sound effects, uh, and not even a lot of them, and Ben just
Yeah.
kind of waiting.
Hmm.
So after a minute or two, Ben winds the sunroof up, and
Yeah. Here's
Mickey
Mickey
comes
climbing to the
through,
roof.
and
And pretty quickly, he
yeah,
you find out that he's bit.
yeah, he's bit, and he starts to freak out, and he starts to cry, and Ben just pulls out his pistol and barely even hesitates.
Yeah,
He
it
just
was so quick. He's
he just
mad at him. Like, what did you do? What are you doing? Why are you in here? You can't be in here. You got to get out of
why, yeah,
here.
why didn't you stay out there? You got bit. Why
Yeah,
didn't you stay out there? Why'd you come
yeah,
back in here? Yeah.
yep. Because he
Like,
knows what's going to have to happen, and now he has to do it. And he doesn't hesitate.
yeah, he doesn't hesitate. Well, he's also pissed because he's got to do it when he could have just
Yeah,
stayed out there and not made him kill him,
right. Yeah, and there's
which,
nothing to be like. There's nothing else to do. He's realistic about all of it, and so he just handles it. He
yeah,
hates it, but he just handles it. He just fucking blows him
yeah.
away so
That's the guess.
quickly.
Yeah. So then, right, then we go a few more days, maybe. He's definitely
Yeah,
drinking this. He's
he's
definitely drinking this piss now because we got this. We got a yellow liquid jug,
hmm yeah,
and
his leg's been kind of tourniquet made that he did, and he's just limping through and just figuring it out. But he's like slowly going a little crazy and realizing what's happening.
this
Um,
he gets on the the mic
The
with
walkie.
the walkie with Annie one more time, right?
Right, yeah, he's gonna do his
Yeah,
little final monologue is occurring, and he's talking about what happened at that first house,
right,
and just encapsulating all the things that had to happen, and like it seemed so difficult, but all you had to do was just to open this, and he doesn't know if he's gonna make it, but if he does, he's coming for her.
right, right. And so he does it. He does what they did at that first house, and that's what you see. You see him hobbling away, 30, 40 feet ahead of a mass of zombies following him
Yeah,
slower than he can hobble. He's got
right.
his jug of piss, and he looks
And his
really
backpack,
fucking
and
he looks really
yeah,
mad, and cut to credits.
yeah, determined.
Determined, yes, determined
Yeah.
to kill Annie for what she did.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, it's just great great to watch. Just everything
Just
about
yeah,
it was so new and unique with the way that they handled the genre of a zombie movie.
oh
You know, you
yeah,
don't see films like this made, especially whenever it's a zombie type movie. Zombie movies are usually over the top and you're faced in a different kind of way, and this was really artfully done.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I can say a few things. I really felt like the zombies were inconsequential, right?
Hmm.
It was a survival movie, happened to be zombies, could have easily been a disease or who knows, who cares, right?
Right.
Like, it was really about these two guys, and their relationship in this survival setting, and just once again, so well written. This movie is about the dialogue, I mean the dialogue and the music. Um, Once again, the story. There's not a lot of action beats. It's a very simple story, but the ride, which is generally what it's all about, is
Hmm.
so worth it and so fantastic, so fresh. Even though it was made in 2012,
Hmm.
uh, so fresh, for me. Uh, as zombies lately have been just done to death.
Hmm.
Um, just a real treat to get to watch this movie.
Yeah, everything about it was just enjoyable. It's highly recommend. For zombie films, it's up there. You know, it reminds me of like a film like Pontypool, where it's sort of in the background or not as of a focus. There's other things that they're going to be addressing. So it has like it's zombie elements. There's horror elements, but yeah, it's a human drama, a relationship, a road movie, a buddy cop type movie. You know, it
Yeah,
has all of those elements, and between the cinematography, the dialogue, the music, you know, the score, it's just all has an intricate part to play in just telling a beautiful story about these two guys in this environment and how they each handle and process what's occurring differently. And
right,
it's engaging the whole time. It's always engaging. You're always interested. You're always invested in each of them for different reasons. Like I said, I identified with both. I like to think that there's parts of me that are hopeless romantic, emo type fucking guy like Mickey, and then there's parts of me that are like get shit done and just fucking do it like Ben. Uh
yeah, definitely, definitely, both of those characters exist in
yeah.
all of us, and
Yeah.
I think that was part of what is so good about it. It draws you in, sucks you right into both
Mhm.
characters. You're just once again, horror and as a genre, not so big on character development. I mean, this was a character movie. Like it was
Yeah.
about those two guys. It wasn't about zombies. It wasn't about the apocalypse. It was about
Right.
Ben and Mickey.
You know, I picture myself having headphones on and just droning out everything out there too with my favorite CDs. You know, like
Oh yeah,
it all makes sense. Then whenever they get the bow and arrow and Ben's fucking with the bow and arrow and just shooting it and just doing dumb shit, or wanting to always play catch, or whenever he did because he's the catcher and he's like, I'm gonna give you an assist, and they're playing catch and he makes them throw. I'm gonna give you a pop fly, and the guy's going for home. You got to throw him out. You got to throw him out, and like
right,
it's so heartwarming and just like it's just fun. Like you can everything about it was it's so like we've said before, we said a ton. It's so natural and seamless and well written. with what seems like would just like these were people that actually went through this. It's just, there's not a lot of parts of this film that pull you out of it.
Yeah,
You're
it's
always in
it's very much like watching like almost like a live documentary.
Right.
In the fact that you literally believe everything. None of the situations were the only situation about in this movie that is fantastical is the fact that zombies are real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything else is like, oh yeah, totally. That definitely happened.
All right.
Um,
Well, we should move on then, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Forewarning, you are going to hear the words beautifully written a few more times
Yeah.
before this episode's out.
So I would definitely give Battery if we're given a
Oh,
score.
sure,
It's
sure.
definitely a 7. I would even maybe borderline with an 8, you know?
I was gonna say the exact same thing. It's a solid 7. Watch it. I'm gonna watch it again. It might be an 8. Um, I don't know. Maybe I'll come back to it after midnight, and we'll see.
We mentioned this in private before we got on, but we'll just briefly talk about it. The audacity that Jeremy Gardner had to create a film of this quality with the budget that it had
Oh,
of
sure.
$6,000,
Yeah,
minimal funding,
yeah.
and it stands up like this. Like it just goes to show, indie does not mean cheap garbage.
Oh, absolutely.
This,
I do appreciate how they they advertise in the credits featuring songs by, and then there's a handful of bands.
hmm
If you go back to, the king of indie, if you will, Kevin Smith and Clerks, if you watch the trailer for Clerks, the last panel before the end of the commercial is featuring songs by Alice in Chains. And I don't know how he got a song by Alice in Chains in his movie. Maybe he wrote a really nice letter,
right,
but uh, but they used that and I think it was like I don't even know 97. It was in the late 90s.
yeah.
They used that as like a key point in the advertising, which I thought was great. And then to see it again in um, in the Battery, I thought was a lot of fun.
Yeah, fantastic. So highly rated. Everyone should be seeing it. So let's move on and talk about After Midnight. So this one, unfortunately, I didn't know. Apparently, a lot of people did see this movie last year. I'm not sure under what circumstances they were able to get a hold of it, because obviously, with COVID and with everything that's happened in the past couple of years with releases, it's hard to track down when things are going because it's not always going to be in cinemas, whether it's even in your area, let alone if it's in a cinema. And then also, different streaming services are not great at letting you know or clue in when they're going to have something on their platforms. You really have to dig a lot. And so this one, the reason we're talking about it now is it recently was acquired by Shudder and they started playing it, just in time for Valentine's Day because it is a romance horror movie. So some people talked about this movie last year because it was in film fests and fright fests and things of that nature in 19, but I think it had some limited release in last year for people to see. We're seeing it now, and it is worth watching. As a current movie. So that's why we're talking about it. So let's get into it then. After
Let's get into it.
Midnight.
After Midnight. So, what's his character's name in After Midnight? It is
His it's
Hank.
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 Yeah,
Hank.
Hank.
Hank and Abby.
hmm
This 10-year strong power couple in a podunk town in Florida.
Yeah.
Um,
Do they mention Florida? Because I've seen people talk about it, but like it's obviously somewhat tropical. There's palms and Everglade esque type areas.
yes,
Like
yes.
it's kind of
They live 4 hours from Miami. They say that
yeah,
once or twice.
yeah.
Um, and what is it? They're celebrating. They've been together 10 years. I guess Hank owns the bar and owns the house. They both live in the house, and she's the manager of the bar. I don't know if she's co-owner,
hmm
but she definitely manages the place. He says we should sell it one time. That kind of clues you into at least, you
hmm
know. Um, but yeah, so it starts off. They're celebrating uh,
Well, this is like
Valentine's
a.
Day.
I think that the structure of
Oh,
this
her
film is
birthday. Her birthday.
right. I think the structure of this film is very unique, and it made it a little bit like you were engaged in trying to piece things together as to the progression of the relationship because this film very much is about their relationship.
Yeah.
And
I really
so I found myself trying to find those landmark flashbacks that would signify how much time has passed. Because when you mentioned 10 years, that doesn't come out until much later.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like the whole time, you're really not sure how long they've been together.
Yeah. I really do like how what they did with the flashbacks.
Yeah.
So you have like right away the first scene is like
The
them just
first night, her first birthday, they're dating.
yeah, yeah, and they're
And
like canoodling in the house and
hmm
they
like
find
in the
this
foyer in front
yeah,
door, like they're not even in the whole house, they're just in that one little area, and they're just like she's got the sunflower dress,
yeah,
and they're just rolling around.
they find that tape that says Julie
For Julia, yeah,
yeah,
for Julie.
he says he made it in the 8th grade and she wants to play it and they're joking and the dialogue is once again very natural
Hmm.
and not laugh out loud funny but like you smile because you've been in this relationship the things that they say to each other you have said and you have heard in your lifetime you
Yeah,
are and so right away you're familiar and that's a good word I think to
yeah, that's a
describe
great
how
word for it.
to describe the characters in this movie.
Yeah, and I
um
found myself by the time we get to the end, this film like kind of gives you it. It just it's out there, and then I've been sitting on it and just stewing over all the things that happen, and just like finding all these correlations with myself or relationships that I've been in. It's like, yeah, like, and you understand the context of the film in a different way after it's concluded. I love that about it. It's so relatable. But so
oh
like
yeah.
go on. So yeah, they're that first night they're in the house and they see the tape. It's just all natural and they're
so
pounding it
so
up.
you get a couple minutes of it and then it just cuts
Hard
to
cut.
to day him alone with a beer on a couch and a shotgun and he like walks around the property a little bit, and then like it goes back to them
Yes.
having, and then it comes forward again. Like it, you don't know what's past, what's present, what's really going on. You definitely assume that the birthday is past,
Right.
and that the drunken Hank with the shotgun is present.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they don't tell you, right? So you just kind of have
No.
to piece it together on your own. She's gone. Why is she gone? What happened?
Yeah, I think early on he's trying to phone her on the landline, which is sort of like a nice nod to, time's passed, and he's calling her cell phone. She's got a voicemail set up, and he just can't reach her. He just leaves her voicemails,
Yep.
asking where she's at because he doesn't get it. Um, Seemingly, you see all the flashbacks, so loving relationship, and she's just gone. So you have no idea what's happening or what happened or why is she gone. I can't remember how long it takes, but you see the note on the cupboard that just says, like, I'll be right back. Had to go out. Love you. Be love you. Be back whenever.
Yeah. Yeah, and she's gone for
Again,
yeah, we
you
don't
don't
know. We don't
know
know.
until the end. He
Yeah.
mentioned it, and so and it's like I don't want to jump to that, but like it's
Right.
4 weeks. He
It's
gets to
four
it.
it's yeah, it's 4 weeks.
She's gone for 4 weeks.
All right.
That's what he says.
So,
But but that's the thing about this film. There's things that are happening. You're always questioning. You don't know. There's uncertainty, and you have to just take things at face value with what's going on with him, um, and just go with that because you have nothing else to trust. You only have his perspective, and
right.
that is so important with everything that is happening in this film.
Right. So I think the first character we meet is the sheriff or just a cop. It's just a cop.
Right, because but I think that there's a night where the entity or the
Oh,
creature,
does it? And is that when he shoots the hole in the door?
yeah,
Does that happen
it
before all this
I
happens?
think I think that's the
Yeah.
first night because he does shoot the hole through the door, and then it's like that one of those cuts. He is on the road, and the car
Right.
streams by,
And he
and he
shoots
shoots his gun at it
yeah, because he
because
almost
he's been up all night
yeah.
because he's been under attack by something
Yeah.
every night since Abby's left,
Right.
and that's important for
Right.
his universe. Is that the two go hand in hand? She's
Right.
gone, and ever since she's been gone, this thing has been at my door
every
after
night,
midnight.
and you see the scratches
Yeah.
on the yeah, and it looks pretty heinous, but
Hmm.
as the police officer who we meet now says, that that's a black bear.
Yeah. Shane. Yeah.
Yeah, Shane.
Which I thought was kind of a neat reference to Walking Dead. Whether intentional or not, I kind of like the idea of a cop being named Shane. Maybe it's a little nod because they did the batteries, so zombies, they're not unaware.
Right,
Whatever.
right.
Uh, but Hank just quickly points out, like, it definitely wasn't a black bear. I know a fucking black bear. You
Right,
think a black bear walked back past all that garbage I have in my yard, walked
right,
past this cat food that I have on the porch, did all that scratching? I don't think so.
right,
He's adamant. It wasn't a fucking black bear. He
right.
knows.
Well, and he's a hunter. I don't think we know that yet, though. Um,
Right.
I don't think we know that yet, though.
Yeah, no, it's not clued in just yet. But the sheriff's like, if you wanna prove something, then shoot it with your camera
Right.
next time.
Next
Yeah,
time, right? Not your
yeah, not your shot, not your
not
12
not, not
gauge.
your 12 gauge. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so then this movie goes on where Hank he's just at his own homestead, but he's got this bar to manage or to deal with, and so he goes to the bar. This is where we meet the comic relief best friend, Wade
Wade, played by
slash Bubba, he calls him sometimes.
Yeah, played by Henry Zabrowski.
And I
Yeah,
thought this dude was awesome.
yeah, he was awesome. He was hilarious. He was definitely, he took the seriousness of Hank's situation away, and he made the movie light.
Hmm.
For every time he went to the bar, right? The
Yeah,
two of the three bar sequences. One was a little heavy.
yeah. The waitress, you don't really get into. You don't really talk a whole lot of it. She's just kind of there.
Yeah.
Um, and but yeah, that his whole character is defined in this first scene, and it's so great. And there's a couple funny moments with for me that I thought were hilarious here. Well, obviously the one with the I can't remember what they call the drink, but the bar mat,
Oh yeah, yeah.
great.
The Mexican fart.
Yes, it's just disgusting.
Yeah.
And he wants to go for it because he does one there. But no, he's eating those. They might be boiled peanuts. They might not be boiled, but they're bar nuts.
Yeah.
And it has these close up shots of his mouth and the way he's eating them, just like smacking his lips and just like how gross it is because he's just going to town on them.
Right.
There's a close up, a couple there's two close ups of just his mouth where he's just like, and it's like so off putting. It's hilarious. I was like, I feel like he like it's an inside joke where like he just eats funny or weird or he's kind of gross and they just want to just showcase it and because there's no need to have two close-ups of his mouth. I just thought it
Oh
was a
yeah.
funny little sidebar to
Sure.
just develop how weird uh this guy is.
Right. And so same thing with the bar and the town. He didn't really get to do it in the battery, although you kind of feel it in the characters' personalities. But in this movie, you write about what you know, right? This guy lived in this town. Like this is where
Yeah.
he grew up. He based that movie in his hometown. All these people are real, based on friends of
Yeah.
his or just people he knew in his town, right? Um, Growing up in a small town and even in living where I live, um, I felt very comfortable with this bar and these people,
Yeah.
and their attitudes, and then like in the attitude of like just being in your 30s and kind of stuck in the small town, which we'll come to a little later. It's all once again very familiar.
Yep.
It kept me engaged through the whole thing. It kept me interested. Besides the mystery of what is ailing Hank, um, I just wanted to know what happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's this monster, or so he claims, and
Mm-hmm.
you have a million theories, right? She
Yeah.
is the monster. She got killed
Yeah.
by the monster. He killed her and he's going crazy and he's created this monster. You know, it, I mean, okay, there's three, not a million, but you know,
But there's a tons of iterations of those
I,
ideas that are all
I,
different from one another.
I'm gonna tell you that the everything's okay and she comes back eventually was not a theory.
No, not at all.
Not at all. It was it was not what was even in the realm of possibilities.
Yeah, by the time we get there and she pokes her head in, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, where have you been?
Yeah, this whole time. And that whole reveal is just so perfect for characterizing the perspective of Hank and through this whole movie and where his character is and was in their relationship to be
Yeah,
so detached to misinterpret something so simple.
yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay. All right. We're getting ahead
we'll
of
get to it.
ourselves.
So right away they build the relationship with Wade. He's the best friend, go-to guy that's always at the bar. He's gonna be there. He starts giving him ideas as to what it could be that's happening, and he mentions all kinds of things. You mentioned a handful of things. He mentions, uh, how cats scamper. It could be a panther.
Yeah. Right.
He's like, it's not a fucking panther.
Has
Uh, uh
anyone around here ever seen a panther?
yeah.
Yeah.
And he throws out the idea of aliens real quick. He just puts
Right.
those things out there. And I can't remember if it's not until another night transpires, but they eventually they go out in the field together looking for the creature. I think it might be after one more night. Because the way that
Yeah.
I tracked it down is there is the night he had the shotgun, right? And then he meets up with that, and then there's the night he tries to photograph it. He does attempt to get a photograph of it
Right. Right.
after the sheriff interaction. This must be they go
He
out together later.
and after that, so at that moment he didn't get the photo or all the photos he took were blurry, but he did see
And
it. So
yes,
now he's like, it's a fucking monster. Like
yeah,
I
he
thought it
saw
was a
its
monster.
hand. He
Yeah.
saw its hand, and he
Yeah.
said hand because whenever that Wade and him go out in the
Yeah.
fields eventually hunting for it,
Yeah. He's
Wade
like,
carrying
didn't you?
his axe. Yeah, you asked if he brought his shotgun, and you see him with the axe. You
Yeah.
didn't.
Like
uh
he says, didn't you mean to say paw? And he's like,
yeah. Did you see
no,
his
it was
paw?
a hand.
Yeah. Um, he starts talking. He says that he thinks of the dark crystal. I think it's another one of
Right.
Wade's ideas. Like he
Yeah.
references the dark crystal. um,
Which is great. The references in both movies were great.
yeah.
Again,
Um,
just good writing. Like the guys from like our generation, right? Jeremy Gardner.
mhm,
Definitely grew up watching the same shit we did.
yeah. So after failing to do it with the camera, the next night that Hank is left alone with it, and again, all of these nights he's boarding up the front door with the couch against it so that the creature can't get in. He sets a bear trap out and runs the chain to the bear trap through the hole that he shot in it the other day.
Yeah.
Creature comes, he gets a shot at it, and the bear trap is broken out of it, but there's a blood stain on the porch.
Right.
And so
So
he's got more assurance that like this
there's
wasn't
something.
some simple thing.
Right. He shot it and it ran away. That's huge. It got caught by a bear trap that which it pried, as he described
Yeah.
it, open and ran off, which is
Hmm.
another crazy thing. An animal couldn't do that.
Right.
He has another one-on-one with
The
Shane
sheriff.
at
Yeah,
Shane's house
he goes to Shane's house and talks to him about the
with the
bear trap.
broken bear trap. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a fucking black bear. This is what happened. Shane brings him in. He's like, "You saw that? Bacon." And so, this is also a good for this is Abby's brother.
Right, right. And that's another thing Shane mentions a few times is how they should be family.
Yep, yep, he
Uh,
kept reiterating that.
because we still don't know how long it's been or how long the relationship has lasted at this point. But, there are hints being dropped.
Yeah. And so Shane is sort of like the Ben character from the Battery in that he wants to keep he's in reality. The reality is this was a fucking animal and
Right.
you're not understanding it. And he tells a lot of stories like and he references it here that humans always see something or think they see something. The amount of people that say they saw a UFO, the amount of people that Hey, you know how many reports we have of actual factual evidence? Zero. It doesn't exist. People always want to see something with sharp teeth. It's not there. They're just putting that together a reason to explain something that they're going through, and he's trying to explain it like he's being rational and clear. Like this is it's not anything but that.
Right.
You need to
Which
get your shit together.
right, which and he's drinking every night too. So like as a viewer, you're the film is feeding the theories,
Yes.
which is great because I know I was all over the place
Mm-hmm.
with like what's coming. Um, and like we just said, never in a million years could I have guessed what was coming.
Right. Because you hear all the different you have your own ideas, characters are given different ideas. You're always questioning. You can never trust anything because your viewpoint is just Hank, and Hank is dealing with shit because as he's talking to all these people, not only is he distraught with what's happening with this physical presence that's coming every night, but his girlfriend of a very long time, because we don't know how long they've been together just yet, has just up and left, and he has no reason to understand why. And this other thing's happening. He can't wrap his head around it. He's worried about her. He's worried for his own life, and he's completely distraught. He's not getting sleep. He's has no idea. He's just stuck
Yeah,
in his
he's
life right
drunk
now.
every night. Like I think after the scene with Shane at his house is the night where he's at the bar late. Um,
Yes, yeah.
yeah,
He's at
yeah,
the bar late with the waitress, where he's almost kind of like hanging around, flirting to see if something might be happening, like
right.
because he's getting lonely.
Yeah, I got
And
that feeling too. Yeah,
she's like, yeah, that's how I felt about it. Yeah, my car's here.
yeah.
I'm gonna
My
go.
right, say I gotta go.
He keeps
Uh,
drinking. He keeps pouring more of
yeah,
the nice stuff, the 1806 or
yeah.
whatever I think is what he was.
And that's when he
And
comes home to
open door.
open doors.
Yeah,
Yes. So the
beautifully shot. The way that they did this. And this film is similar to Battery. A lot of steady cam, just like on the scene where they're in the frame. They're just having dialogue. Not a whole lot of cuts. A lot of long shots. And by the end of the movie, an amazing single take, which will deep. That's the meat of the movie right there. But
yeah,
so it's simply framed, and there are more beats than in the Battery, but there is a lot of stillness to what's happening, and it's not as moving around as you would see in other films. And so you're more engaged in the environment and the conversations that are taking place with the characters. And so this shot, when he does come back to the house, I love the way it's illuminated because his car is parked, the headlights are just blaring on the front
yeah, yeah,
door,
yeah,
hard shadows. The color of his house is just cool as shit. The washed white, but then the blue doors, it's like popping, and it's the greenery of the grass. It's just it seems so ominous, and you're just looking to try to figure out what's going to happen. You don't know. You're looking in every corner to see because you don't want to get caught off guard by whatever the fuck is going to happen. You know, it's
yeah,
like that kind of setting that happens in where they're dangling the reveal, and you're anxious and you're anticipating it. You're on edge.
yeah, yeah. I also felt there were just a couple jump scares in this movie,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think there were any in the Battery, which I appreciated. But After Midnight had a couple of them, and for the most part, they were scene transitions
Yeah.
instead of actual reveals, which I thought
Right.
was good. One thing we haven't mentioned here is almost well, obviously, let's first start with the music. Once again,
Mm-hmm.
just like in Battery, excellent use of music. Every time the music was incorporated, it was being played either at the bar, so it was like low background, or
Mm-hmm.
it was loud, and then they moved into another room and it got quiet and then they moved back and it got loud again, and the panned past the record player, and you saw that they were actually listening to the song. Um, when there isn't music in this movie, almost
Mm.
100% of the film in the background is the cricket noise. It's constant. It gets
Yeah.
louder and it gets quieter, but it is constant. Except, obviously when he's at the bar, but when he's at his house, it never stops. And I
Yeah.
really actually enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I used to live in the middle of nowhere when I was a kid till I was like 12 or 13 years old, and that sound was when you're outside in the woods, like your house is in the woods, it never stops. Like it's always there.
Hmm.
And it was a really really nice touch to not have a typical movie orchestral instrumental soundtrack, instead of a handful of really good like indie rock tunes and actual environmental sound.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
So it's very similar in that regard, like because it's and you almost forget about it because there's more going on to kind of like dig into. But yeah, the music is another character, just like it was in the Battery, where it's really cluing you into how to interpret or interact with the scenes that are in front of you.
Yeah. All right. I think we're there. We're
Yeah,
almost
well,
we're almost
yeah,
there.
he comes back to the house, but he doesn't find the thing. He goes through a couple rooms. He goes into the kitchen. He hears it upstairs. But he's like walking towards the front door to try to get a glimpse of it. He's got his I think he's got the gun with him, the shotgun, but it gets out the front door and it's gone before he can do anything about it, and it
Right.
escapes. And then I think things more or less jump to the return, correct? Like it's
Yeah.
like the next day.
Yep. Yep. She just
Right, it's after this night. Yeah,
yeah,
she
yeah,
comes
yeah.
back that next day.
Yeah, she pops in. Um, he's not surprised to see her. Like he never thought the worst, like the viewers probably did at this point.
Hmm.
I know I thought she was dead or the monster. Um,
Yeah, he's upstairs asleep. Um, and she sees the door is blocked and the hole in it, and so she goes around the other side and she just starts doing her morning routine that she would normally have in the house. She's doing
she's
dishes
doing
and
dishes.
cleaning up his debaucherous, careless way of taking care of the house. So she's gone just getting shit faced, beer bottles everywhere, wine bottles everywhere.
Yep.
And she's just doing her thing. The music's playing, like you said. You talked about this before, like where the music's on the record. You just see him coming down. You pan over to the record player, and he takes it off, and
Yep.
they start having a conversation.
Yep. Yep. Where she says she went to that thing in Miami,
The reunion,
the
her 10-year
reunion,
reunion.
her 10 reunion, in which I told you about, and
Yeah,
which of course he forgot about.
yeah,
And he's just accusatory. Did you see that guy? Your ex, that
yeah. Her
guy?
ex-boyfriend.
And she's like, yeah, I saw him. He was at the reunion. And
Yeah,
he's obviously like, I'm an asshole. Like he doesn't say that, but you feel it.
right.
You
She's back. They don't have the talk right then. He takes the music off and he walks away. They're having this conversation now at the front door.
in that foyer.
Yeah, the doors are open. He's sitting on one chair. They're both drinking, that which is sort of what the couple has always done. They have the wine they made fun earlier, the peanut wine from Georgia.
Peanut noir.
Yeah. He's sitting there and she's sitting there and there's the tension, and this whole scene is one long take, like 10 plus minutes of just their dialogue. Just
Yeah.
still the camera's just focused on them. It's not moving, nothing, no cut, no close ups on anything, just one long take, which is
Oh
just
yeah.
really awesome.
And it's almost a monologue of hers.
Yes.
And what's so real, once again, realistic dialogue, right? I mean, she just talks about how disappointed she is in herself and the relationship and how it's holding her back from being more and she wants more and she isn't getting it and all he does is he
Yeah.
and you've been I've been that guy.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
heard those arguments,
Yeah.
that entire line of dialogue of her monologue. I've heard it.
Yeah.
Maybe twice. Not
Yeah.
even not
That's what
even.
to me that's what was so moving and awesome about this, is that I could relate, and I was just so blown away because I didn't expect that transition.
Oh yeah, and
The
I
whole
was
film, she's the enemy.
oh
I've got
right
to side with him. He he seems like he's falling apart right now, but it's because she's gone. Why the fuck is she gone? She's not communicating. She's the bad guy. And it's like it's such a simple thing that occurred. He fucking forgot. Maybe too busy at work, not listening to
Yeah.
her. The relationship was kind of falling and like just a natural growing apart in a way, and you're not paying attention, and like so everything about that part of his world collapsing was preventable if he would have just been more fucking attentive
Yeah. Yeah,
and paid attention.
absolutely.
And I've been there. I
Yeah.
have misread so many situations
Yeah.
because I didn't hear something right or I wasn't present in a certain moment, and now I'm misinterpreting everything, and I'm getting upset and getting upset and getting further into depression and anger and resentment,
Yeah.
just like he is.
What's amazing too is his acting job reacting to that monologue. I
Yeah.
swear to God, I have done and those like I've listened 10 minutes where I've just gone,
Yeah.
you know,
And well, you're not saying a fucking thing.
as you've got nothing to say because you're wrong.
Yeah, and you're just eating
And,
shit, and she's
yeah,
just making
yeah.
so many points, and you're like, you're right, you're right. What the fuck is wrong with me the
Right, and
whole time?
yeah, and he's just taking it because that's all you
Yeah,
can do. That's all you can do.
yeah. It was
Um,
a beautiful scene, and it was
yeah,
just like it explained so much, and you're now like, but you're like in a tailspin because it's just the realization that like she sacrificed so much, and it's not gonna work out in a lot of ways.
right. Which okay, so it wraps up with help me clean this place up. We've got friends coming over because
Yeah,
it's her birthday again, right?
yes.
So
Yeah,
the movie
because
the original
it's
flashback
always around
was
the birthday. Yeah, it's always around
yeah,
birthdays.
the original flashback was her birthday, and now we're on another birthday of hers,
Yeah.
and all the friends are coming over,
Hmm.
and she even says something about his the monster, like you know
Yeah. Is
you
your
want
monster going to show up?
yeah
Because they're at the front door, and whenever they have that, he's mentioned it before. She's like, "Is your monster going to show up?" And she's like, "It doesn't look like your monster's showing up." At the end of the conversation,
and
and like
so
he's,
this is
yeah,
an excellent misdirect
yes,
for the audience is that first night she's back,
it's not going to be there
the monster doesn't come.
because you're still kind of questioning, like,
S-
was it her then? Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
it is her,
so
and so
is
now
the
it's not going
monster
to be
her
there.
or is the monster his own demons, more of a metaphoric
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
So
The openness of it, it's like it just leaves you out there, and you're along for the ride, and you're just everything about the
yeah,
characters interaction, you're hanging on it in every
yeah,
scene.
absolutely. So we go right to the party, and
Dinner party, cut to dinner
this is
party.
every character that we've met besides the bartender slash waitress is here. Um,
Yeah, she's not there, and I don't think we met Shane's wife, but she's
oh right,
or
right.
Wade's wife. The wives were never.
The wives were never. I thought we
I don't.
met one of them, but
Maybe
it
the
doesn't
sheriff's
matter.
wife. Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
maybe in a flashback or something.
Yes, yes, no, definitely it was a flashback where
Yeah,
we saw Wade's wife, not Shane's
yeah,
wife.
because they talk about this is another scene, and this feeds the relationship aspect of it, the disconnect that they start to have. Um, they share that they're expecting a child,
Right.
and you see Abby longing for that, and being upset because Hank,
Hank is just making jokes. Yeah.
no fucking way am I
Right.
ever doing that.
Right,
That's
right. And that yeah,
ridiculous.
that was a flashback scene, yes. And that's definitely
Yeah,
where we got well, that was Wade's wife.
Wade's wife. Yeah, and you can see like Abby looking at him like really disappointed. Like she's keeping her composure. They're with friends. She's not
Right.
gonna like air that in front of anyone. But it's another blow to her and the way that she perceives the relationship and what is ultimately going to occur
Right.
between the two of them. She's got doubts and helps feed.
Right. So we have they're all together, they're drinking, there's karaoke,
Hmm.
and then
Yeah, yeah. The
eventually
karaoke's great.
the karaoke is fantastic. And then they
It
end
starts with Shane.
Shane, yeah.
Shane's he's karaokeing the
Oh,
animals
right. House of the Rising
the
Sun.
Yeah. It is so awful. It's so
Oh,
out of
it's
key.
terrible. It's like, and it's out of rhythm. Like he's
Yes.
definitely not even. Yeah, he's
Not
just
even
doing it.
trying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, not even trying.
The karaoke machine's not helping him much with the background vocals in any way. Like it's this is a pretty brutal,
Yeah,
unapologetic, unforgiving machine.
yeah. It that ends with them surrounding a dinner table where the
Yep.
conversation's getting a little more intimate, and they're still drinking, of course. Um, where Shane uh, says, "What's going on with your monster?"
Yeah.
And it's kind of a dick about it, and
Yeah.
everybody's like, "Shane, shut up," and he's like, "No, there's an elephant in the room, and no one wants to talk about it," and Hank's like, "It's not an elephant."
Yeah. But yeah, he's just dressing him down, trying to make him feel like a complete fucking moron because it's
Yeah,
not real.
right,
Everyone in town sees you running around, your life's in pieces, you're going around embarrassing yourself and my sister. What
right.
the fuck is wrong with you? Acknowledge the fact that you were wrong. You made it all up. You embarrassed yourself and all of us and her
Yep,
and the bar.
yep.
Just own up to it.
And then Hank just goes off on Shane, just tears him apart for being an asshole
Hmm.
and just being a giant asshole, and like makes some great points. And once again, we talk about the natural dialogue. Like this all makes sense. It all feels so real.
Hmm.
Like the words that were chosen, just so well written. I can't say it enough in this episode.
Yeah.
And he even comes to a revelation
Yeah.
while while tearing apart his girlfriend's brother. He runs into the other room. He gets the For Julie tape or For Julia tape,
Yeah.
and he grabs the karaoke machine and he plays the song and sings the song to what was it? Anna, right? It's Abby,
Abby.
Abby. To Abby, and it's Lisa Loeb and Nine Stories Stay,
Yeah.
which I thought was amazing. And
Yeah. A
you know,
great rendition. Yeah.
yeah, he actually sang it well, of course.
Yeah.
Um, and
And but leading up to it, he bears his soul to everyone
right,
and apologizes for the distancing that's occurred, the fact that he hasn't been present, that he didn't give her what she needed, that he forced his life onto her in like this environment and kept limiting and keeping it closed. And he said, "Yeah, let's go to Miami. Let's
right,
get out of here. Let's go to I can't remember, he's overseas, my Paris. He's like, let's go. Let's
yeah.
just get out of
Let's
here.
go wherever you want, wherever
Yeah,
you want.
I want to
Be,
be with you. Yeah.
because you are enough, which was what she said before. Was she was just afraid that she wasn't enough for him.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
he needed his hunting and his bar and his
Yeah.
backwoods town and his friends. He needed all that to be happy that she
The
wasn't
house.
the house, that she wasn't
Yeah.
enough. And
And
she
he
says,
acknowledges that at the table and in front
"Yep,
of everyone, and
yep,
just says what an asshole he's been, and just like eats crow and just accepts it and just does it in front of it, and then he sings a song, and like you're filled with the emotion and the happiness, like it's gonna be okay. They're gonna get back together. They're gonna just it's gonna be perfect.
yeah,
And then the most rewarding and well
rewarding."
earned jump scare.
The monster attacks Hank. And everybody screams, has no idea, like, oh my
Yeah,
god, the
because
monster.
he's right at the end of the fucking song, and you're
Yeah.
singing it in your head. You're saying the
Oh
last words,
yeah.
and you're like, and here it comes, like, and it, boom,
Boom.
immediate.
Immediately. And he kicks it off him and chases it into the other room and the guests are scrambling to find his gun. He doesn't need his gun.
Yeah,
Let's pause. He killed a nice buck, and
yeah,
she would never let him hang it up
the
because
Valentine buck.
he named it Valentine. She would never let him hang it up because she hates that kind of shit, so he had to keep it in a closet. in a conversation he had with Wade, and now she's gone. This all gets revealed. So he decides, fuck it, I'm gonna hang it up.
Plus, Wade told him that he thought it was a good luck type, like,
Oh right,
charm to hang on the
charm.
wall.
Yeah,
That you the animals won't come fuck with your house because you got this buck on the
because you
wall.
got the buck on the wall. So he chases it into the room with the buck on the wall and doesn't have a weapon. So he tears the antlers off of this thing, and he, manually disposes of this monster, and he just goes to town on it in the way that
That Mickey did
Mickey
last
did
time.
on that one zombie. Like he just doesn't stop
Just left
until,
and right, just a
yeah,
nonstop. You hear the squishing and the crunching
yeah,
of the
the
bone and the
antlers
flesh.
just
Just
penetrating this monster.
nonstop.
Now, I understand it was low budget, and I do have to point out that the CG monster looked pretty terrible. But
Well, there was a good. The puppet was
but the
this is a
puppet
costume.
looked
Yeah.
great. It did look
Yes.
great, especially the corpse of it looked fantastic. So,
Yeah.
I understand that sometimes you have to do it one way,
Right.
but it's too bad you couldn't have done it all animatronic. So
Right.
I have to nitpick just a little.
Sure. Well, we talk about it with everything else, so it's only fair.
Oh yeah,
Um, but it's like preposterous looking. It's like just a unique, cool, fucking weird character design that make
yeah,
has no sense of place or any like what? This
yeah.
is just weird.
It's just a monster, just a
It's
random
just it's just
monster that can't be
cool as
anything
shit.
else. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a werewolf, it's not something you've ever heard of, it's not an
Yeah.
alien, it's just a thing.
Yeah. It's a humanoid, if anything, because it's bipedal and has arms and a face.
Yep.
So, uh, yeah. So he tears it apart. He's drenched in blood.
Yeah.
He looks like a fucking maniac.
Yeah. With the antlers still in his hands.
Yeah. And he looks at Abby because she's. Oh, and the other thing too is they're all at the doorway looking at him because they've retrieved things and like the wine bottle and everything is there. She's holding
Oh,
on to
right.
it and she's just grabbing it. And Wade, if you see Wade, I don't know if you paid attention to this, but he's just nodding his head real slow as you hear him fucking killing it. He's just like, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
He's
just
just
get
like
it.
he's
Just
like
get it.
he's like yeah, tear into that fucking thing, and he's just nodding in approval.
Yeah.
It was a great little sidebar on the side. I just loved it.
And
uh,
does he take the wine bottle?
she's holding it, and I can't remember how he says it, but there's like one other thing that I needed for you to have or to see or to take. I can't remember how he words it,
Yeah,
but he inverts the bottle so she can see underneath it, and it has the ring
right.
inside it.
Yeah, and it's the Peanut Noir, and he
Yeah,
said something like, "You want to drink a case of these with me," or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah, he
yeah, yeah,
makes a cute little one-liner
yeah.
there, and
Hmm.
and that's all she wrote.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So, man, it's such a
S-
fun ride, but
so good. Uh, all right. So I thought about it, and
okay,
and and I'm actually gonna give After Midnight an 8,
okay,
and I'm gonna stick with Battery at the 7. And
okay.
I definitely, how many years apart are these? 7 years apart. I mean, so
Yeah.
so who knows? Who can speak to Jeremy's experience between the two movies? But
Hmm.
After Midnight, a little better written, um, you know, better camera work, better sound work. I liked the story better, as far as, like, once again, a human drama, not necessarily a horror film, just kind of in a horror film setting,
Yeah.
just like The Battery. So the Battery, about a movie about two guys. They happen to be in a zombie apocalypse. After Midnight, a movie about a couple, happens to be like a creature feature, right? Because the creature just
Right.
show because you don't see it till the end and it dies. Like that's like the story of a creature feature. It shows up at the
Right.
end and dies.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and that's
so
the thing. That's what people complain about when you've got monster movies. Like, what was the fucking point of this dumb creature feature? It was just about the monster. You didn't get to see a ton. Maybe you saw a kill or two, and then it was a dumb reveal, and they dispatched it. But I was never invested in any of the characters. Like that's what is talked about as to why those movies fail. And so
Right.
this is like, here's a take on that kind of idea. Like, how about we just make a good fucking relationship drama, and this is a part of it, but that keeps that part of your brain, at least for me as a viewer, because I love a romantic human drama, but this horror element, I love horror elements. This handled both of those two different kinds of stories and movies really well, where they just kept in balance and in harmony with one another, where it flexed this a
Right.
little bit at times, and then this came back up, and it
Yeah,
just went back and forth.
they kind of played into the cliche, but
Yeah.
they broke the mold in a way
Uh,
where it's like this is how it's done when it's done right.
mm-hmm.
And at the same time, the mystery of the creature reveal had my brain going constantly, like
Yeah.
of the unanswered question. Um, yeah, so if whoever's not in charge of giving this guy millions of dollars to make big budget pictures,
Yeah.
can we get someone like this guy in Hollywood, please? Like,
Because and we talked about this before, like a lot of the people that are in charge of larger properties that we have talked about, whether it's Halloween Kills, the Night House Heaven, these people, all great directors, start somewhere, and it's just a matter of finding that right window where someone sees something and takes a chance and gives them a little bit more room to play with and to work with and to create something, because clearly this Jeremy Gardner is has a vision in his filmmaking, and I think that that's very clear, because that's something you don't always see. People can direct and maybe write. Rarely do you see someone that can do both and like creates a world. Like Tarantino does his thing. James Wan clearly does his thing whenever he writes. They have a sense of self and a thing to say, and they just do it. And so, yeah, it would be awesome if he got more backing to really dig into that more than he already has done. So I'm not sure. I want to look more into his career, and I want to follow it to see
yeah,
what else might be coming up on the horizon, because it's super exciting.
absolutely.
I loved each
Yeah,
of these movies.
yeah, they're both fantastic, both must watches. Hopefully, we do spoil movies in our show. Hopefully, you had seen them before watching. If not, hopefully watching makes you go out and see these movies and at least, follow Mr. Jeremy Gardner on Twitter. Just pay attention, see what he's got going on next.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, these were both
because I'm sure
excellent movies.
there's no way you don't make these two sweet ass movies and not continue. I'm sure he's got more in the works. It's
Oh
just a
yeah.
matter of like shopping it around and seeing where it can find a home.
Right,
Um,
right. Can't make a movie without money, so
yeah, dude, like I can't stop thinking about just the relationship parts of this movie and the misunderstanding and like just how it all comes together in the way that just the to it's like a good reminder to just like always be on point and always try to reconnect with your significant other and have open communication, not get too wrapped up into your own shit, and just regular stuff that you should always do, but clearly it's just a reminder, a tale of caution as to what can happen in an absurd way. An extreme example with this creature, but then potentially, losing a relationship through misinterpretation of a simple thing where it really spun out of control and it didn't have to. If it was handled more tempered, he probably would have patched things up and resolved this quicker.
right, right. Um,
But
but she was gone
wild.
for 4 weeks,
Yeah, I
she
know.
she
So
wasn't
that is the thing.
she wasn't answering the phone, so he could, he wanted to, and she
Yeah,
says when she gets back that she didn't call or answer because she knew he'd talk her into coming back, and
yeah.
that's
She had
and
to
that's
process it. Yeah.
that's the kind of like you know
Yeah.
um like double-edged sword that a 10-year relationship brings, is that like
Mm-hmm.
you love this person so much that,
Yeah.
and even if they're bad for you or you think that they're bad for you in this moment,
Mm-hmm.
um, they know what to say and they know what to do to reintroduce you to that good side and bring you back when maybe you need some soul searching,
Yeah.
which is definitely what she needed at that time.
Yep. Yeah. And she came back and she got to sit at peace, and he was in a place where he was able to hear it and make the right decision to move together as a team.
Right, right, to move forward. Yeah,
He got to that in his own mental space after all those events, and did a grand gesture, which is always an awesome thing to see with the karaoke and the proposal and all that.
yeah. Great song
Man,
choice too.
yeah, yeah. I know. It's yeah, awesome. It was a lot of fun. I'm so glad we got to talk about these two. After midnight, I had seen Battery, but talking about them in conjunction with just Jeremy Gardner as a writer director was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so next week, um, I believe we have Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, this is so Netflix bought this up. I think it's been sitting for a little while. From what I gathered, and but the thing about it that's interesting, and we're gonna find out, this is sort of a requel, to coin Scream's term.
Right, right. It's a direct sequel to the first film, as if
Yes,
as
all other sequels
all the
don't exist in
right,
this universe.
which would make sense because the first movie ends with him alive and
Right.
not caught by the police. Right, he's just swinging that thing around in the field, and it goes to credits.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it would make perfect sense that however many 25, 30 years later, whatever we're at, um, it could all happen again with the same cast of characters.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
going into this with a lot of skepticism.
oh, sure.
I'm
I'm not a big Texas fan, to be honest.
No, yeah, I never watched any of the sequels because I
Yeah,
didn't give that much of a shit. Like,
yeah,
the first one was cool. It has a lot of like landmark type things. I keep hearing like the one scene that they didn't tell the fucking actress what Leatherface was either gonna do or what he was gonna look like, or the fact that he was gonna have a chance. So her reaction on Scream of being terrified when
yeah,
this maniac busts through with a chainsaw, I think is genuine. I
yeah,
remember
yeah,
hearing that, and I
yeah,
like that. It's fucked
yeah.
up,
It is fucked up, but
but
yeah, and
I
yeah.
like
So
it.
that first film, which I'm sure everyone has seen, it is definitely great and iconic. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think the sequels are pretty much garbage. And did it already get a reboot? Maybe
yeah, they
not.
did do a
Did they
reboot.
did they
Yeah,
did reboot it? Yeah, because I know they rebooted Halloween and Friday, so
right.
they must have rebooted Chainsaw. So I definitely didn't watch the reboots. And I
No,
think
no.
the only sequel I can remember I think is three, and the only reason I watched that was because it had Matthew Modine in it, and I was curious.
It's a fair reason.
Yeah, yeah,
So
right.
yeah, I mean, yeah. So I'm going to skeptical when I mentioned Netflix restarring it. There's just not a lot of hype about it. The trailer came out. I think we watched it a week or two ago, whenever it was.
Yeah,
Uh, it has mixed reviews where people are hearing things, the canceling type line from the kid on the bus and seeing Leatherface out in the environment. It just all seems very odd, and it doesn't have a ton of publicity right now
yeah.
through Netflix. It's just gonna kind of come out. I have no idea what to expect. I'm skeptical for sure. I hope it'll be fun. Clearly, this can be done properly. I'm
Yeah,
hoping it will just be fun.
it definitely looks like it takes more of a slasher role
Yeah,
as opposed to a more like a torture porn role, which I think the first movie was,
yeah, it was kind of yeah
bunch of kids,
demented.
yeah, a
Yeah,
bunch of kids trapped in
like
a house, cannibals and whatnot.
clearly inspiring Rob Zombie to do whatever the fuck he ended up doing.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
and so like that's the thing. Will it just focus in on the fun absurdity of this character, or is it going to try to make it real and you're going to understand what's happening?
Yeah.
Like,
Fr
like Halloween kind of flirts with the realness and the
yeah.
serious tone of it, but it does it in such a way that I think it's still fair and warranted, and it still does the absurd, over the top kills because it focuses on this, supernatural entity, this other presence, the shape that is just evil incarnate that does not think, it just does.
Yeah. I from the trailer I got serious Friday vibes.
Yeah,
So I think it's gonna be slasher fun.
I hope.
To be honest, I hope that's the route they go. Like, I don't think you could recapture the horror of the original today.
No,
We've
but
already
because you
seen,
know what to expect.
yeah, we've already seen 8 million Saw movies and Hostels, and you know that genre. It was a flash in the pan. Like it showed up, everybody loved it, and a few years later, it was already tired. And I think
Hmm.
torture porn, as they call it, uh, didn't do anything good for horror, in my opinion. So
Well, okay, so this is interesting because a lot of I realize a lot of crazy French torture porn or hard graphic horror, body horror, and things like that are going to be coming to I want to say Hulu in March. Uh, like High Tension, Martyrs, Inside, all of these well acclaimed
High Tension was great.
French French horror films are going to be out. So maybe we get into that a little bit in
Yeah, yeah,
March.
yeah,
Possibly, we'll see.
definitely.
Little
I,
reviews of
I'm
some of
not.
those.
I don't think they were all bad. I think
No,
the
yeah, I
genre
know,
in
but like
general
it
is
has
just like.
it's a certain lane, and like there's definitely there's certain beats in life where you are going through some things that are like real life stuff that like when a film does it with such direct grotesqueness, it's off-putting and not an entertaining way. If it hits you in the wrong point in your life, you're not going to be into it. You're just going to ignore it or not be around it.
Yeah,
It's like the one scene in The Witch. Spoiler alert, which it's early. It's not a big spoiler, but like the baby scene really made me uncomfortable because my kids were just born, and so I'm a little bit more emotional, kind of impacted with like
sure.
something bad happening to a fucking infant
Yeah,
in that moment. So for me, that scene kind of threw me off, and in general, I want not the big witch fan. So like body horrors and torture porns, like you were saying, sometimes they're going to have a higher frequency of hitting the wrong notes for certain viewers, and it's just not going to be. It's not a
right.
broader scope genre subgenre for horror. So
Yeah, generally for me, I'm just not into the torture of it. Like,
hmm
I love blood and gore. I love the creativity of the kill, which are two things you would think it would make you into torture porn, but no, I don't. I don't need it to be a long, drawn out series of events. I don't need it to be that gruesome. Like,
yeah,
let's just see the cool kill and resolve it in 3 to 5 seconds and use practical effects, please,
yes,
and move on.
yeah,
Um, I don't need to live in that moment for as long as those
yeah,
movies tend to let you live in it, or
yeah,
to force you to live through it. Like Human Centipede, another like hard pass, for me. Like, I just don't.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
I
just
don't have any desire at this point. Like
yeah.
probably not going to get around to.
Oh God,
I get.
it's terrible. I I'm not gonna watch it a second time. So,
Yeah.
now body horror, I take a little separately there. If you haven't seen The Skin I Live In,
Mm.
Antonio Banderas. Oh, you've seen it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
It is very good.
It's so good. All right, we'll do that in a future episode too.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so we're gonna watch Texas, and we're gonna watch Student Body, which is on HBO Max right now, I think. And we were supposed to watch this week, but instead we did the Jeremy Gardner double feature, which turned out to be just fantastic.
Fantastic. So the last little thing I want to flirt in there. So
Oh,
for
sure.
viewers, we talked about this briefly. Um, the production duo that was a part of a lot of these films. One of the characters, the Shane, was played by Justin Benson. Justin Benson works closely with a partner, Moorhead. I want to say it's Aaron or Adam. I can't remember right now. Give me a second. I'll double check. They've been a part of making several other films as a duo. Aaron Moorhead. That's right. They did Spring. They've also done Resolution, The Endless, Synchronic. These are all films that everything they've done has been highly acclaimed. They're going to be having a new film coming out this year. I want to call it Something in the Dirt. I'm hoping that we will be able to have a conversation about all production company. So I'm looking forward to that. The last thing, which I haven't told you about,
Ooh.
I watched something last night.
Oh.
I was in the mood, wanted to see it. Something this came out last year. It was on my list, and I never got around to it. Someone referenced it. Um, and made an alt art poster for it. I watched it last night based on the recommendation, and I'm upset that I didn't see it last night because this would have been in my top three.
Really? All right.
Absolutely.
What's the movie?
Come true.
Come True.
Yeah. We're going to do an episode on this movie. It's going to be in the future sometime. We'll talk about this movie. This was in the top three for sure last year. I'm
Okay.
so upset that I didn't watch it and it didn't make the top five because of it. Because if I did, like I said, it would have been difficult. I still think I would have had Malignant, but this might have beat out The Night House for me, dude.
Really? Okay.
Really. I don't want to say anything about it. I don't want you to look into it.
Okay.
And anyone else listening, go watch this fucking movie.
All right.
It, yeah, dude.
Okay.
It's out there. We're not going to talk about it until eventually we talk about it. You're just going to see it sometime, and then you're gonna then we'll talk. Man, yeah.
Uh, all right. Great. I love a good sci-fi horror. Okay.
Quit reading about it.
All right. So next week, Texas Chainsaw Massacre requel and Student Body for the podcast for the recently deceased. I'm Nate Roberts,
I am Rodney Godak.
and thanks for watching.
Take care.